What does it take to grow a new industry? Canopy Rivers doesn't just invest in revolutionary cannabis companies. They strengthen them by connecting those businesses to each other. By unifying people, capital, and ideas, Canopy Rivers is raising the potential for all. Visit bepartoftherise.com to find out how Canopy Rivers is building the cannabis industry of tomorrow, today. This is not an offer to sell or a recommendation to trade in any securities. Investors should review Canopy Rivers' continuous disclosure and risk factors therein, available on sedar.com.
This is the Linda Steele Show on demand. Subscribe now on iTunes and listen weekdays 2 to 6 on 980 CKNW and on the Radio Player Canada app.
Lower taxes for the middle class.
We started off talking
and
about
raise the richest 1%.
We have a plan. You said that the allegations in the Globe and Mail were false. You said Jody Wilson-Raybould never came to you. You said you never put pressure on her. We now know that those were all lies.
You're offering a $50,000 tax break, which is more money than most Canadians earn.
What we have here is Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Scheer arguing about who's worse for Canada.
You bought a pipeline. You can't be a climate leader and spend $10 to $13 billion more on a project that by itself blows through our carbon budget.
This is the Linda Steele Show on 980 CKNW.
All right, this is going to be fun because we are talking to some people who are going to change their vote. They're not going to vote the way they have traditionally voted or the way they voted in 2015. And apparently there's a lot of people who feel like this. So I've got some people in the studio. One of them is Trevor Kramer. Thank you so much for coming in, Trevor.
Well, thank you for having me, Linda.
Yeah, we have Alex Bigelow. Hello, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
We have Gard McKay. Hi, Gard.
Hi, Linda.
Thank you all for coming in. And on the phone to represent the ladies, we have Denise from Coquitlam. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate you, and I connected on Denise with Twitter because I said we got to get some women in this conversation. So I'm going to go around the table here and figuratively with the phone. So Trevor, you are a former Conservative voter in the past. How are you planning on voting this go round?
I'm planning to vote for the Liberal Party of Canada.
Okay, going from Conservative all the way over to Liberal. Alex Bigelow, former Liberal voter, you're planning on switching your vote. What are you looking at?
I'm definitely not voting Liberals, but I'm deciding between NDP and Conservatives at this point.
Okay, we're going to find out why in a moment. Gard McKay, Conservative switching your vote to what?
Leaning left, NDP or Green.
All right. And Denise, you are a Liberal and you're going to vote which way this time?
Oh, I'm heading NDP.
NDP. Okay, well, I'm going to start with you, Denise. Why are you switching your vote?
Well, I'm doing it a little bit strategically because the riding that I live in has flip-flopped between Conservative and NDP, and we've had a couple Liberal candidates pop up as well. It seems to be neck and neck, and I just can't abide by some of the Conservative policies, and some of the key issues for me are the environment. So that's where I'm headed towards the NDP in hopes that we can prop up a local, well-known local candidate and keep that NDP seat so that we can have somebody that I think it's going to be a minority government. There's my stance, no matter who gets elected, and I hope that the NDP can be a great working partner if they can't get to majority.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a minority government myself. I don't know which way. Gard McKay, why are you wanting to switch your vote to either Green or NDP from Conservative?
I guess I'm just tired of the way politics are being done. In the last number of years, I've also developed a good social conscience, I'd like to say. So that's the area where I'm leaning.
What does that mean? Explain. You're developing a social conscience and why you're changing your vote.
I grew up in a resource community, so I was always business-oriented, profit-oriented. I care more about the environment now. Plastics in the oceans, animal welfare, just more of a social conscience.
Yeah, so with Andrew Scheer's climate plan pretty hollow for you?
Yes.
All right, in a word, Alex Bigelow, a former Liberal voter, trying to decide between NDP or Conservative, that's sort of all over the map.
Yeah, the reason is I think you vote for a party either for the character of a leader or for your MP. In both cases, they've disappointed me. So Justin obviously is proven to be a phony. He's said all the good things, but he delivered nothing to abide by his promises. And on the MP side, my MP, Heidi Fry, in Vancouver Centre, has been in Parliament for 26 years. she's been in Parliament longer than I've been in Canada. So what has she done for BC? What has she done for downtown Vancouver East Side? What has she done for housing crisis? What has she done for fentanyl crisis? Nothing. There's nothing for the writing. So in both cases, there's no way that I can vote Liberal again. So character-wise, I really, really appreciate Jagmeet. I think he's the most genuine, authentic person. But I have on my wife's side, I have family in Alberta, so I'm a bit worried about if the pipelines are canceled, what's going to happen to their economy. So that's why I'm really struggling with this. Like character-wise, I like NDP and Jagmeet Singh. But on just that side of like policy-wise, I'm actually closer to Liberals, but I just can't, for my good conscience, vote for him again. It's unbelievable what he's done.
Interesting. Now, Trevor Kramer, you're a former Conservative voter, but you're going Liberal. Did you vote Liberal in 2015?
I actually did. I'm actually not a former Conservative per se. I'm a progressive Conservative. Okay. I still consider myself a progressive Conservative. However, with the shift of policy that occurred under Stephen Harper and in the years leading up to his leadership, I really feel that the party left me more than I left the party. I grew up as a progressive Conservative. I can remember as a child, my father was a very strong Brian Mulroney supporter. I grew up sort of looking at Canada through that lens. And as I grew a bit older, I got more and more involved in the Progressive Conservative Party. As a high school student, I worked actually on a local campaign for Progressive Conservative MP in Richmond, Tom Siddon. And at the time, Hedy Fry was actually trying to unseat Kim Campbell, who was the sitting prime minister in Vancouver Centre, this riding where I live now. So I grew up, looking at Hedy Fry as a sort of political adversary. And as the Conservative Party changed, and as I say, left me, I started to realize that my views as a member of the LGBTQ2 plus community, I couldn't live with myself supporting a party which opposed my right to marry the person I love. Mm-hmm. And looking at it through sort of in a current context, I mean, Andrew Scheer, here's a guy who in 2005 compared my marriage to the tail of a dog. And he can't even bring himself to apologize for that. It's inexcusable. It doesn't represent Canadian values. It doesn't represent the kind of country I want to live in. And his silence on that issue is frankly disgusting. And when you look at the sort of litany of skeletons coming out of Conservative closets around homophobia, including this woman in Burnaby who has now been removed as a Conservative candidate as a result of saying that calling the LGBTQ2 plus community a camp that's recruiting children. I mean, it's mind-boggling that someone can hold these views, and I think it's really indicative of the kind of candidates that Mr. Scheer is attracting to his party.
However, Mr. Scheer did dump that candidate.
He did.
Whereas the Liberals, the Greens have also had candidates with the proverbial skeletons in the closet. One that came out for the Liberals in the Maritimes.
Yeah, Mr. Batiste. Well,
who talked about
blackface.
Yeah, but he also apologized, unlike Andrew Scheer. I mean, listen, I was shocked and outraged by the blackface situation. I was surprised. I was disappointed. And I think, like most Canadians, sadly not all Canadians,
didn't he resign then? But I don't mind Liberal policies, but I cannot possibly vote for the character of a guy who wears blackface as a Middle Eastern guy.
But listen,
how could you justify him wearing blackface, making fun of brown and black people?
It's inexcusable. I'm not defending that in any way.
So
but
how could you vote for him and not, for instance, if you are leaning towards the left, NDP?
I have an answer for you, okay? All of the conversation around personalities, all of the conversation around inexcusable behavior, around all of these very valid points, boils down to one thing. On October 22nd, we as Canadians are going to wake up to one of two scenarios. A scenario where Justin Trudeau, an imperfect Justin Trudeau, who has been called by The Atlantic, an American magazine, as the most successful progressive politician in the world, okay? We're going to wake up to that scenario, or we're going to wake up to Andrew Scheer. Whatever we think of Jagmeet Singh, whatever we think of Elizabeth May, whatever we think of Brownface, that's the reality.
We're going to wake up to a minority government, and on the best thing we can do, especially in BC.
It's not guaranteed that it's going to be minority. When you look at most of the polls, they're calling for first of all, they're calling for, in terms of seats, they're calling for a Liberal victory. It's not assured that it's going to be minority. We have a choice between moving forward with this government, which has made advances on climate, which has made...
Are you a Liberal, agent or something?
No, I don't know my agent. Listen, I live in the riding. I care about this stuff.
Hang on for one sec. Gard, what do you think about this conversation?
I tend to agree with, is it
Trevor? Yeah.
Trevor. I tend to agree with Trevor in terms of the rights of people, and that we can't accept it any longer, and it's not acceptable. I don't like what Trudeau did, and I was quite surprised by it, to be honest with you.
I think everyone was.
But he owned it, and he came out and
maybe not everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Denise, let's get you in on this conversation.
No, because I'm a Middle Eastern guy. So just as you have a reaction to Andrew Scheer's speech, I don't know when it was, 2005, I have a similar reaction to blackface of Justin Trudeau.
Of course.
Fair enough. And you're both seeing this from a particular point of view.
Linda, on that, I mean, this is my own non-scientific anecdotal observation. And I acknowledge, I'm a Caucasian person who enjoys privilege as a result of that compared to other people in society. And I try to be conscious of that. But out of my friend group, people of color, by and large, seem much less fussed by this than most of the white people I know.
Yeah, and that's maybe true, but the day of the blackface controversy, the day that broke, we had a ton of people calling into the show who were brown, who were not impressed at all.
Every Canadian has a right to be offended by that, particularly people who are personally attacked by that.
Exactly. Let me get Denise in here one more time. So Denise, as someone who voted Liberal before, did the blackface thing, was that part of your decision to want to move to the NDP?
It really wasn't. I think it's the puzzle of this election. It's a race to mediocrity. It's like I am so disappointed in Trudeau, having been almost a lifelong Liberal voter. So that affects me. When I look at the larger things like economy, am I in favor of a pipeline? Maybe not. But I think he's, on balance, is my life as a Canadian better or worse than it was 4 years ago? No, I'm pretty good. So that's where I'm reserving a little bit of judgment on, yes, there are missed policies and there are promises that have not been kept. But when I look at the candidate and the stable of people, like I said, I'm looking for a government that is going to work and keep Canada stable, and that's where I'm headed towards NDP. I like the philosophy. I think there's a little bit of work that needs to be done on the policy development. I don't favor necessarily the fiscal policies of NDP, and that's where I want to see that balance. But I just can't abide by Scheer and some of the fundamental things that party stands for, and that's where I have to stay on the left and go a little bit past center, where I'm really most comfortable.
All right, Denise, I'm going to put you on hold because we're going to carry on this conversation. I have more questions for our panel. Welcome back. This is going to go fast. We have a bunch of switch voters in the studio and on the line. We have Denise from Coquitlam, who is someone who's voted Liberal, who is going left to vote NDP. Trevor Kramer, former Conservative voter in the past, going Liberal, Progressive Conservative. Alex Bigelow, former Liberal voter, going NDP or Conservative. And Gard McKay, a Conservative, going Green or NDP. And let me start with you, Alex. Are you worried about vote splitting, and is this playing a role in how you're going to vote?
Slightly, but at the same time, I have a conscience, and I just can't vote for a phony who's Justin Trudeau. I just can't. So I honestly think this election is a great opportunity for people to vote their conscience and vote for people who they really want to see in Parliament, because there's I would say 95% chance of a minority government. So yeah, maybe that's the case in some areas, but I think you vote for who you want, and essentially Liberals do not deserve another 4 terms as majority.
Another 4 years, yeah. No. Oh, okay, Gard, I ask you the same thing. So you're talking about going over to the Green or NDP. What about you? How strategic is that vote?
It's not strategic at all. I'm voting with my conscience this time. In the past, I'd look at it and say, that party's not going to win if I vote for them anyways. But this time around, I'm definitely voting with my conscience.
And your wife is on board with you?
We're still debating that.
Oh, really? So what's the debate?
She's pro-pipeline, so I think she leans Conservative. on this vote. But
well, that'll be interesting.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Denise, what about you? So you're switching the vote to NDP. Is it because of the leader? Is it because of Trudeau? I mean, what's the reason and how strategic are you being?
Yeah, I think I'm being very strategic or trying to be strategic. I love that our system supports, the person that represents you in Ottawa. I'm trying to make the choice that I can live with and that represents most of what I support. So it absolutely is a strategic move for me. I do worry about the vote splitting because traditionally people say when you vote Green or vote NDP, you're really taking support away from the Liberals. And all of the media that I've been consuming today really does say that, look, your choice is Scheer or Trudeau. That's the viable options for Prime Minister. So I do worry about the vote split, but I still have to go with my conscience and like most of the panel, do what I think is right.
Trevor, you seem very committed to Trudeau and to the Liberal values. So this is really just about the party and what they stand for.
It is. It's about, I think it boils down to a binary choice. Justin Trudeau talks about choosing forward. And I think it's really appropriate because the alternative, which in all likelihood, mathematically speaking, is Scheer, is choosing to go backwards. And I don't want to go back to a Harper era regressive policies on social issues and other things. And I think it's also important to look at numbers. I mean, when you look at what this government has done, I read recently that 300,000 children who were previously living under the poverty line no longer are because of the Canada Tax benefit. I mean, that's real on-the-ground reality improvement of the kind of country we're living in.
Yeah, and I'm just going to read a text that we got. Better the devil you know than the one you don't. All right, so there you go. Denise, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Fantastic. I appreciate the invitation, Linda.
All right, thank you. And also Trevor Kramer, Gard McKay, Alex Bigelow. Thank you all for coming in. It was really nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Linda Steele Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for free at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you get your on-demand audio. And join the conversation. You can reach me on Twitter at Steele Talk, on Facebook, and by email, linda@cknw.com. Talk to you next time.